Well, we're so excited to be part of your journey. Thank you so much for choosing a template from Plan Infinity. So today I'm going to take you through how to populate based writing freelance templates. So if we can start here, so this is the README section, and we have other tabs within this spreadsheet. So in the README section, you have your step-by-step guide on how to use the template. You also have your YouTube tutorial. Then the next tab is a setup tab, and this is where you set up your general budget to key in your general information. Then the next tab is the wedding budget, and this is now the main part of the template, and this is where you track your budget. Then you have your saving plans, where now you track your savings and put your savings. If you can now move to the setup page, so you start from the top, and here you put your wedding date. Let's say, for example, we put the wedding is on the 11th of November 2026. Then you have the name of the bride and the groom. For today, we use Elizabeth and Peter. Then you have your guest count, and this is the number of guests that will come to the wedding. So below that, you have your currency, and if you look at the drop down, you can select any country. So for example, if I select, let's say, Qatar, you can see that the currency symbol changes to that. Then if I select, let's say, United States, you can also see that the currency symbol will change to the dollar. So for today, let's select Kenya. Go to the drop down, let's select Kenya. Yes, you can see it's Kenya shillings. So the next step is now the budget categories, and here you key in all your budgets for the expense categories for the wedding. I populated most of the common expense categories, for example, the venue, the rings, the PT, but please feel free to add any other expense category that you would have. So if you move to the wedding budget tab, this is the main tab, and this is where now you have your budget. And one thing to note is that please don't populate is top part, only populate the lower bit, which is the cost tracker district. So BBC, because this upper bit would automatically update off the back of what you put on the cost tracker. So if you start on the cost tracker, here you select the category of expense, and this is picking up from the setup page. So for example, for the rings, you enter the rings, then you put the cost description. Yes, say you put the cost description, which is the rings for the bride and groom. Then you put the name of the vendor, and you also put the budget amount. So I would recommend that you first put the budget for the wedding before you start tracking the cost. So the next thing is the, let's say, PT, and this is basically, let's say, the makeup, and put the cost description, you put the name of the vendor. For today, I'll say makeup by Joe. Then you put the budget, which is, for this instance, it was 20,000. Again, you go and select another category. Remember, we are keying in the budget before we start tracking the cost. This would enable you to make sure that you're on track, or you're not very off track of the based on the budget. Okay, so let's key one other thing. Let's say catering, and this is where now is the food, and you put the name of the vendor, and you also put the budget. Let's say for this instance, you budgeted for 100,000. So you can see that it populated the budget. We can continue populating all the other categories, and I've just done 3 as an example. Now let's go to the actual cost when you've started in Kali. Let's say for the rings, the actual cost was 70,000. Now what you can see is that this section has automatically updated, and let's say the actual paid for that rings as of today was 30,000. Also, you can see that you have the left to pay. You can also put in your next payment dates. Let's say for the next payment date, it's April the 4th, 2026. So what you'll see is that the days until next payment have automatically updated. So one key thing to note is that only populate on the white cells, do not populate the green cells. Okay, so let's key in the bits for the beauty. So you can see for the beauty, the actual cost was 15,000, then the actual paid was 0. I haven't paid anything. And let's say the next payment date is from 10th of September 2026. You can see as of today's date, or as of the date that you're keying in the budget, the actual cost, it's 187 days remain. Then the last thing, let's enter the actual cost for the budget. Let's say for this instance, it was 110,000. So you went above the budget, and you can see the budget versus actual is negative 10. It means you've gone up the budget. Then you've paid 50,000. So the left to pay is 60,000. So the next payment date is, let's say, on the 31st of August 2026. And again, you can see that the days have auto-populated. So one other key thing to note is that if you look at the top section, you'll see that this dashboard has automatically updated. You see the cost category, the cost per vendor has also automatically updated. Then one thing to note, you remember you pushed the key date as 11th November 2026 on the setup page, and that has automatically updated this top bit. You can see the name of the brand. You can also see you have 249 days remaining until the wedding. This is as at today until the wedding. So this will just auto-populate based on the date that you populate the budget. You can see your total budget, your total actions, and that's taken off the back from the cost tracker below. You can also see your total paid, total left to pay, and you also see your costs per guest. Remember, you had on the setup page, you had 120, so the cost per guest is now 1,625 based on the 120 guests. You have the cost by category, the vendor. You also have your top cost categories. This is the top expenses. The top 5 expenses will be populated here. You see the status of the expenses. You also see your upcoming payments here and the dates until the next payment dates. Okay, so now let's move to the saving plans. So here's where you put your savings. I want to recommend that you first do your budget to know how much you need to save for, then you start saving. But either way, just do what works best for you. Okay, so on the saving side, you also populate the white cell. So you have the milestone dates. For the milestone dates, you can select your milestone dates to be on a monthly basis or on a weekly basis. It just depends on what you set as your milestone dates. For this instance, we'll put milestone dates of months. So let's say we started saving on the 1st of January 2025. I'll put that. The target for that month was 60,000, so I'll put that. Then February, again, the target was also around 100,000. Again, I'm just setting up the savings. Then the March, the target was 70,000. So as you can see, I'm setting up the, let's say for April, it's also 80,000. I'm setting up the target savings, not the actual saving, because the target means it's what I'm expected to save for each month. Now I'll go ahead and now enter the actual savings for each month. Let's say for January, I was able to save around, let's say, 80,000. So you can see that the difference shows that I've gone above the target savings and the progress bar is full. Then for February, let's say I was able to save 90,000. Remember, the target saving was 100, but I saved 90,000. You can see that the progress bar is not full because I have 10,000 left. Therefore, March I did 50,000. You can also see the progress bar is not full because I have 20,000 remaining. Then for April, I did 40,000, and you can see the progress bar is half because my target is 80,000. I've only saved 40,000. You can also add a note. This is where you just put comments. For example, in April, I say, saved less because maybe we paid for the rings, but sorry, we saved 40,000. So that's how you populate this template. Please please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. Our page is our email is